Hey there, Mountaineers! Welcome to episode 28 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And today we've got some great topics for you guys. We say that every week, but we do really have some good topics for you guys this week. We're going to be recounting some more recent Disney news, and Alex and I are going to be giving our best and worst lands at Disneyland. Not necessarily Disneyland, but California Adventure as well. I do have one land from California Adventure. I think I spoiled all the things for you guys earlier, but yeah, let's go ahead and get underway. Let's see. Alright. Now, our first bit of Disney news is Disney announced... Oh my gosh, I have a link here somewhere. Let me just open these links really quick.
I think it's okay.
Just whistle while you work. Okay, here we go. Now, Disney on February 22nd, we're a bit behind on this news, but February 22nd, Disney announced a new, I think it's like a bar and a sit-down restaurant, maybe even a fast food, I don't know.
It's more like a marketplace.
Oh, okay. A marketplace. To be replacing Aladdin's Oasis. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Aladdin's Oasis, but it's not a good spot. I don't even think they use it anymore. Just when Aladdin is meeting, and I think they do Moana meet and greets there as well. But yeah, it's not a very good spot. They might even serve food there. I don't even remember. Let's see. This new experience will soon appear along the tropical shores nestled between the Jungle Cruise and Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. This one-of-a-kind destination will be a popular rest stop for Adventureland locals and weary explorers alike. Guests will be able to rub elbows with their favorite skippers and in an exotic trader's market featuring all of the sights, sounds, and flavors of the tropics. Guests will be able to rub elbows with their favorite skippers. That's interesting. Maybe after you're done on the Jungle Cruise, you can invite the skipper to get a mango smoothie. But yeah, it does say this one-of-a-kind destination will be a popular rest stop for Adventureland locals. We sort of touched on this last week, of how adding this whole thing might make the crowds worse in Adventureland. I mean, with Aladdin's Oasis, you didn't really have much of a guest draw, I guess is the word I'm looking for, just because there was really nothing to do there unless you're meeting Moana or you're meeting Aladdin. But otherwise, this does seem like a nice addition. It adds to, I guess it sort of just adds to the capacity of Disneyland, so lots of people can fit inside and get out of the parks. I mean, it does look like it'll have a nice view of the Jungle Cruise, which is something I've always wanted. Before there wasn't really a place to sit down and just watch the Jungle Cruise pass by. But Alex, what are your thoughts on the Tropical Hideaway?
I think it's actually a really good way to use that corner of the park. I mean, at first I thought it would be a restaurant, and I mean, either way, I'm cool with it. But I think that even as a marketplace, it's still a good idea, because some people thought that maybe perhaps they would move the Dole Whip bar and move it into that little corner there to free up some space around the entrance of Adventureland. So some people thought that, and then I think there might be a little stand or something to get food and stuff like that there. So I think it's a really great way to use that space and to kind of open it up, because you can see that the stage that is currently there is not in the artwork there. It's completely opened up, and you can view the Jungle Cruise from there. So I think it's really great, and I'm actually really excited to see it and probably eat there or drink something there. So hopefully they show like a little bird, like a parrot of some kind, and hopefully that becomes a animatronic. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, like talking to an animatronic bird. That'd be nice. Now, when you say market, I'm not entirely sure what that means. I'm assuming you can buy like drinks, or like when I think of the word market, I think of buying like fruits and stuff. That might be what they mean by market, but yeah, it does
Like,
seem. What were you gonna
Oh, I assume that they're gonna have maybe like 3 different windows where you can get stuff,
say? Mm.
like just small windows that you walk up to. So maybe there'll be one where you can get special drinks, and then maybe there'll be another window where you can get like something barbecued or something like that on a skewer, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I know, they call it a market, and it's probably just a little place where there's a few windows where you can grab stuff. And who knows, there might even be like a little tiny merchandise bar or something there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be. I mean, it does look nice. It gives me a Lilo and Stitch vibe, which I'm 100% okay with. But yeah, hopefully. Let me see. When was this announced to open? It doesn't say when it's announced to open on the Disney Parks blog. Keep your eye on the Disney Parks blog for more information on this exciting new location as more is discovered. So, I'm assuming not all of this is set in stone. Some of this could change within the next year or so, whenever they plan to open it. But yeah, it does seem like a nice addition. Like Alex said, the Aladdin's Oasis was enclosed, and I always felt claustrophobic when I went in there, just because it was so small. But this does seem nice. But like I said, this could also add a new bottleneck, or maybe not add, maybe not add a new one, but add to the existing bottleneck that is in Adventureland. When this opens first, the lines might be out the door, but hopefully it'll add a nice vibe to Adventureland. Moving on to our second sort of Disney news, I have a video here.
I was gonna say something.
Oh, okay. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say that if you notice, the auxiliary restrooms that are there are not gonna be there when they open up this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like, because right now they have the restrooms open for people who don't like. I think there's a family restroom there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not gonna be there when they open this Tropical Hideaway place. So that might affect the local restroom areas, where they might be even more crowded because there's no auxiliary restroom there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I believe they have restrooms sort of off to the side when you enter Adventureland. I can't really think of the layout at this very moment, but yeah, this does seem like a nice addition. Hopefully it adds to the vibe, I guess, of Adventureland. But moving on to our next topic, I have a video to play for you guys. Hopefully I don't get copyright striked for this. Disney, please leave my channel alone. Pixar Fest coming in spring 2018. Let's give this a watch. I just need to... Okay, here we go. Let's give this a watch.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got troubles, I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. You got...
Now, I guess right off the bat, they are showing lots of happy people in this sort of trailer, I guess. I guess it's more like a trailer for Pixar Fest, but right off the bat, Joseph the Hatbox says, get sued. But right off the bat, there are a lot of happy people, which is I'm not going to be happy during this, most likely, but let's continue.
Celebrate friendship and beyond at the first ever Pixar Fest with all new fireworks and your favorite park parades, only at Disneyland Resort.
Now, I do find it funny how the announcer lady says your favorite park parades. That cannot be further from the truth. Your favorite... Well, I mean, Paint the Night is one of my personal favorite parades at the park, but when it comes to the Pixar Play Parade, no, just a big no. They might update it. I haven't heard anything about them updating the Pixar Play Parade for Disneyland, but we've gone into this a lot before in our previous episodes of how Alex and I are against Pixar Fest and this whole sort of Pixar overtaking that's happening in Disneyland. But there was one thing that I wanted to point out, and of course the cards get in the way, but they do show the house from up flying over the castle, which is going to be something interesting to say the least. But yeah, Pixar Fest, April 13th through September 3rd. And I believe the lady said something about the first ever, how it's the first ever Pixar Fest. That sort of makes me think that there's going to be more, maybe make this a yearly thing. I don't know. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But Alex, what do you think of this video and just of Pixar Fest in general?
It seems kind of like a cheap way to make people celebrate at Disneyland. Like, it's just kind of like a quick excuse for like promoting something. It doesn't seem like there's really anything that stands out except for the fireworks show, I guess. The fireworks show is like the one thing that's really catered to this event, but everything else is just like, quick, run to the different spread apart rides that we have that are Pixar. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different if they held this Pixar Fest on Pixar Pier or something like that, you know? Yeah, where it's like one localized area. Yeah, but instead it's just highlighting the different spread out rides that they have that are Pixar. And, you know, so, I mean, it's okay. It's not like a terrible thing. It's, you know, it's just a little event that they're holding, but I don't think it's really necessary to hold this thing in the first place because they're going to get the numbers that they want coming into the park anyway. You know, all those people are going to come in, but now this gives people an excuse to flood the park during spring, even though they're already going to have a flooded park during spring. Yeah. So that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, and they do say in the article, this celebration of friendship and beyond will feature the debut of Pixar Forever, a Pixar nighttime spectacular fireworks, the return of Paint the Night, and Pixar Play Parade, as well as new decor, atmosphere, entertainment, themed food and beverage, and new merchandise items. So that's really what this is all about, is selling more merch to get more money. Together Forever.
The fireworks show is called Pixar Forever?
Together Forever. I might have said Pixar Forever, but Together Forever.
Oh, okay. I was like, Pixar Forever. Oh, God, that sounds terrible. Sounds like Disneyland Forever.
Oh, my gosh. Join friends from Disney Pixar films on an emotional journey filled with dazzling projections, pyrotechnics, and music from the movies. Now, in the concept art, it does show projections on Main Street, which I'm excited to see because the projections on Main Street were one of my favorite parts of the 60th anniversary fireworks show. Disneyland Forever? Maybe. It was something along the lines of that, but yeah, Pixar Fest, not a huge fan, but I mean, it's not the worst thing that could happen. At least they're not putting toilet paper on the castle, like they did with when Stitch's Great Escape opened in Walt Disney World. That was a sight to see. But April 13th through September 3rd, join the first ever Pixar Fest. Yeah, the wording they're using makes me think that there's going to be more Pixar Fests, but hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, that's just sort of the recent Disney news that we didn't get to cover in last week's episode. Let's see. Yep, that's it. Let's move on to our main topic, which is best and worst lands in not in Walt Disney World, in Disneyland. I chose this picture for a reason, because my pick for, okay, this is gonna be sort of a breaking the rules kind of thing. I have Tomorrowland as one of my best and one of my worst favorite lands. One of my best and worst lands. It sort of took a spot for both of them. Now, I guess I'm gonna explain why I think it's the worst. In its current state, Tomorrowland is really not good looking. The rides are very unimaginative in my opinion. A lot of Star Wars, for whatever reason, I guess Tomorrowland was the best fit for Star Wars, but in its current state, Tomorrowland is not my favorite land. But now, like I mentioned, I do have it for my best land, one of my best lands as well. That's because the premise of Tomorrowland is just so, I mean, it's a land dedicated to future technologies and showcasing those technologies to the people. How awesome does that sound? I mean, of course, if it's done right, unlike the picture you're looking at right now when they painted Space Mountain bronze. But yeah, Tomorrowland is, I don't know, I'm conflicted on Tomorrowland. It is one of my favorite lands overall, but I do not enjoy Tomorrowland, just because it's so, like I said, some of the rides are really unimaginative, and some of the rides are really old. Some of the queue for Space Mountain is not good. I mean, at least it's better than Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. It's been years since I've seen that, but Alex, what do you think of Tomorrowland being on, I guess, my best and worst, one of my best and worst lands?
Well, it's a land that really needs some love right now. It's a land that it really needs work, because it's got potential for amazing rides. I mean, Space Mountain is everyone's favorite ride in Tomorrowland, and it's the one thing that is keeping Tomorrowland alive right now, honestly. That and Star Tours, those things are keeping Tomorrowland alive, kind of like a pilot light. And but Tomorrowland is severely lacking in originality and good rides and things like that. It's just it is really like watching something slowly die out.
Yeah,
and so I really wish that Disney would address this issue first thing, honestly. It's one of the biggest things in Disneyland that needs to be worked on right now. I mean, Pizza Port is a disaster.
Oh, God.
There's no arcade. Yeah, Pizza Port. There's no arcade or anything in the arcade center. Star Trader is, it needs some kind of expansion because there's so many people in there, and it sells good merchandise, but the problem is that it's not in the right place. It's just Star Wars merchandise, but it's at the end of Star Tours. I don't know. I could say a lot about Star Trader, but anyway,
no, keep
Star
talking
Trader
about Star
needs
Traders.
its own...
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, Star Trader, it really needs to be its own place, not just Star Wars stuff, but stuff that belongs to Tomorrowland too. And what's going to happen when they open Star Wars Land at Disneyland? They're going to move, or they're not going to move. They're going to take out Star Tours, and then what are they going to do with that shop? It's going to be empty. Most likely, they're just going to close it. So it's going to be another abandoned place in Disneyland. And so they really need to work on giving Tomorrowland its own individuality. They need to separate Tomorrowland from Star Wars and try to do something with it before it becomes this great big abandoned place once Star Wars Land opens. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it's already abandoned. That's true, but it could get a whole lot worse. Could get a whole lot worse. So... Oh, and Shaden Kennedy says, keep the G2 droids. I agree. They should do something with those droids. If they're not going to move them to Star Wars Land, they got to keep them and do something with those droids. But in any case, yeah, Tomorrowland, it needs help really badly, and Disney is not doing anything about it. So it makes me sad. It makes me really sad.
Yeah, I've said this before. I feel like if the budget was big enough, they could have made the Tomorrowland 1998 refurb actually good. I mean, just look at this photo. This is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. The Space Mountain photo, for those of you guys not watching. Space Mountain painted bronze, for that matter. It's not a good fit But I mean, I'm indifferent about Star Traders. On the one hand, Disney has sort of dug themselves their own grave when they put the word Star in it. That sort of automatically means that they have to sell Star Wars merchandise there. And being the exit, right on the exit for Star Tours doesn't help either. I feel like they should like move the exit for Star Tours out of Star Traders and maybe have them exit in like a completely different way. I don't know. But yeah, Joseph, someone said, Joseph the Hatbox says it's all space themed, but it's supposed to be future themed. That is a good point. You could argue that Space Mountain really isn't future themed, but I don't know. I give Space Mountain the pass just because it's such an iconic attraction. But moving on to New Orleans Square. Alex, why don't you go ahead and start with New Orleans Square, because I think I'm gonna have some differing opinions on this one this time.
Oh, we'll see, buddy. We'll see. So New Orleans Square is definitely hands down my favorite land at Disneyland. I love it to death. It is so beautiful and so picturesque, and there's a lot of shops in there, lots of things to see. And you really feel like you're in the French Quarter when you're in New Orleans Square. So I love it. I don't really have too many gripes about it, except for the one courtyard that was really nice to visit, which was the Court of Angels, is now only available for Club 33 members to see, which I think just kind of sucks. I really wish that we could see it. But in any case, I don't really have anything else really to say about New Orleans Square, except that the French Market restaurant no longer has a menu that appeals to me, which makes me really mad, because I love that restaurant, but it's not anymore because they don't have a menu that is really that amazing. So those are my thoughts on New Orleans Square.
Well, I do agree with Alex. It is a very beautiful land. Very picturesque, as he said. The restaurants, I'm sure they're amazing. I haven't been to any of the restaurants in New Orleans Square. It does house two of arguably the most iconic attractions in Disney history, Pirates and the Haunted Mansion, but I have indifferent feelings about New Orleans Square. My biggest gripe is the crowds in New Orleans Square, just because we talked about this a couple episodes ago, how crowded it can get in New Orleans Square. That's really one of my biggest complaints about the land. We mentioned a while back of how crowded it gets right after Fantasmic, or even during the fireworks. A lot of people like to watch the fireworks from the outdoor seating of the restaurants, but Fantasmic is really the biggest offender when it comes to crowds in New Orleans Square, just because so many people are crammed into really the only walking space that's available to get across New Orleans Square. It just gets jam-packed, and sure, cast members do their best to help the flow of guests through the crowds, but there's really only so much you can do when like 500 people are trying to get to the same place you're getting. And even worse so when you're trying to get to Critter Country. I don't know why you'd be trying to get through to Critter Country during Fantasmic, but it really is. Yeah, the crowds are one of my biggest problems with New Orleans Square.
But you know what? I think that problem might be slightly alleviated when they open Star Wars Land, because it'll allow for a different way to get across the park. You know, from going to Critter Country to somewhere else, you could, you have a different route that you could take. But yeah, I do agree that the crowd problems are an issue in New Orleans Square. But it's so beautiful.
It really is. I was looking at all these pictures on Google Images to try and find the right one, and it's just like Alex said, it's just so picturesque. I would want to live in New Orleans Square. That'd be one of the places I'd like to live if I could live anywhere in Disneyland. I think that was one of the topics from one of the earlier podcasts, something along the lines of that. But moving on to Paradise Pier. Alex specifically asked me to put this one on here, so Alex, why don't you take it away with your thoughts on Paradise Pier?
Well, Paradise Pier is just... it's a nightmare. Even though they plan to build Pixar Pier in its place, it's always been problematic. It's ugly. It's just got cheap rides that have really no thematic or storytelling value, except for, I mean, I guess Midway Mania is a pretty good attraction, but it doesn't really tell a story. And that's what I like about Disneyland rides, is that they tell you a story and you're in it. You're in the story. And so to me, Pixar Pier is just absolutely terrible. It's always been and always will be, I think, unless they demolish it and build something totally new in its place, which I hope they do. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that because it is sorely lacking in good storytelling and it's lacking in imagination. So that's my little vote for one of the worst lands in Disneyland. As a matter of fact, it's the worst land. Wait. Okay, no. I guess your other pick is worst land in California Adventure, but Paradise Pier is the second worst land in California Adventure. So that's what I have to say.
Now, I guess you could argue that theming the pier around Pixar will add more storytelling to it. I don't necessarily agree with that argument, but that's just something that popped into my head. I mean, they are adding a storyline to the Incredicoaster. I hate that name. I do not enjoy calling California Screaming the Incredicoaster. It doesn't have... I don't know. I'm getting off track, but they are adding a somewhat of a storyline to the Incredicoaster, which is, I guess is a nice addition. But yeah, it's really just a bunch of shops. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 or 5. There's like 4 or 5 attractions in Paradise Pier. One of them being a Ferris wheel, which doesn't really I guess count, just because a Ferris wheel is such a generic ride to have at any amusement park. But yeah, well, the Jumpin' Jellyfish, that is one of my least favorite attractions in the entire park. Jumpin' Jellyfish, it's sort of like a kid's version.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's just awful. If you want a real drop, I guess would be the word drop ride, don't go on Jumpin' Jellyfish. Go to Mission Breakout, which is a much better attraction than Jumpin' Jellyfish, which I guess is a given. Any attraction is better than Jumpin' Jellyfish.
I know. I mean, if you think about it, you're going to pay like $90 to $119 to get into a Disney park, and you're going to ride a Ferris wheel or some swings or some jumping jellyfish. Like that's what they offer you for that much money? You know, like, it's terrible.
Yeah, California Adventure. We talked about this last week. I think changes Disney shouldn't have made. I think we had California Adventure as a whole as something Disney should not have built. Just in general, they should have waited, I guess, until they got more money to make something better than Paradise Pier, or just California Adventure in general. Yeah, Paradise Pier could be on its way to best lands in this summer, depending on if you're a fan of the Pixar overlay. But moving on to, I can never remember the name of this land for good reason. Hollywoodland. Hollywoodland is just not a good land. There's really nothing else to say. I mean, look at this image. Just look at this image. What do you feel when you look at this image? You see a fake background. You see some billboards, some neon signs. It doesn't have any substance, I guess is the word I'm looking for. especially when it first opened. I remember seeing commercials. I think commercials for a restaurant where you could sit in on the set of a soap opera and like eat with your favorite characters from the soap opera, something like that. It just blew my mind how Disney could approve sitting and eating in the set of a soap opera. General Hospital was one of them. That doesn't appeal to me. Swagford95 said they closed Muppet Vision 3D. Yes, now that they closed Muppet Vision 3D, it's really is one of the worst lands, because Muppet Vision was really one of the only attractions really that they had in Hollywoodland. I'm trying to think how many attractions it started out with. It had Superstar Limo, it had Hollywood Pictures, no, the Muppet Vision. That's 2. That's all I can think of. Art of Animation, does that count as an attraction? I'm not going to count it as an attraction. Only 2, really? 2 attractions? Well, I guess the Aladdin show. I don't know if that existed back when it opened, though, but only 2 attractions in this one. Oh, well, I think they had like the Disney Channel Live, Disney Junior Live. I don't even remember. Alex, what are your thoughts on Hollywoodland or Hollywood Boulevard? Hollywoodland. That's what it's called.
Hollywoodland is definitely the worst land in DCA. I have to give it that. It's absolutely terrible. When you look at this picture and you're looking down the main Hollywood Boulevard, I guess it is, it's fake, and it's totally like it's supposed to
fair,
look fake. It's supposed to look like
I was going to say.
It's supposed to be like a backlot, like a backlot for a movie film or something like that. But it just, to me, it comes across as cheap. Like, hey, what's one way that we can really cut costs on this land? Oh, let's make, all of the facades have no inner buildings to them, no shops, no nothing, just empty backsides that have like just steel girders and things like that. It's just cheap, and it didn't work for Disney's MGM Studios park, which is now Disney Hollywood Studios. It didn't work for that park. So why would it work for here in California, especially when you can go to the real Los Angeles, the real Hollywood, and see the streets there, stretching away to the horizon. So this is just a horrible place. And then there's a place to get smoothies, and they call it Schmoozies.
Schmoozies.
That is just, it is absolutely terrible. This land was one of the worst offenders when this park opened, because it had such horrible, gimmicky, and punny types of names for things like that. Like Award Wieners is one of the restaurants
Award
on that
Wieners.
land.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it is terrible. And then they had that ride, Superstar Limo, which was just puke. Like just an awful ride, not even entertaining. And and then they replaced it with Monsters Inc., which is slightly better, but still not a high quality Disney attraction like you'd hope for. And then, like you said, one of the best things in the land was really Muppet Vision 3D, and they got rid of that. I personally am not a fan of the Muppets, but that's a whole different story. At least I can say, though, that Muppet Vision 3D was a quality show. So at least I can say that, and now it's gone. So this is one land that needs to be bulldozed to the ground and completely rebuilt. We already have Buena Vista Street, which gives us our taste of an ideal Disney-like Los Angeles. So that's already done, and we're good on that. They just need to get rid of Hollywoodland and rebuild it from scratch and have something new and more high quality there. Most likely, it's probably going to be something to do with Marvel, which I don't agree with. But it's got to be better than what's there right now. So, so that's kind of my opinion on that.
Steve mentioned Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was also one of the attractions. That one slipped my mind as well. For some reason I always wanted to do that. Who wants to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in Disney? I was gonna say Disneyland, in California Adventure. That just always seemed like a nice thing. I'm glad that the backlot theme is. I guess now that they're changing up Walt Disney Studios in Paris, I guess you can officially say that the backlot theme in Disney parks is dead. It really is only a matter of time until Hollywoodland goes into the dumpster. But I, for one, I'm a fan of like the pun names, like award wieners. I love puns like that. They do the same thing, the same sort of thing in the Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom, but on a higher quality than the ones here. Like,
you know what? You deserve to be bulldozed to the ground just like the rest of that land.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, to be fair, if they do replace Hollywoodland with a Marvel Land, what are they gonna do with the Frozen show that they have there? I mean, of course, that can't be part of the Marvel Land. I mean, Art of Animation, it's an okay. I normally just go in there to cool off, like just take a nap on the giant seats that they have. But the Frozen show is really the only thing that sort of puts a wrench in the works. Is that the saying? Puts a wrench in the whole Marvel expansion for Hollywoodland. I'm trying to think of ways they can get around it. They really can't unless they move the entire show to another part of the park. But I mean, I'm not much of a fan of musicals, like live. I mean, I enjoyed the Aladdin show, but I'm just gonna move on before I dig myself a bigger grave. But yeah, Hollywoodland is not. It's just not a good land. Just take a look at this picture. Like we said, just take a look at the picture.
But you know what? I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think will happen to the red car trolley if they bulldoze this land?
Oh man, oh gosh. See, that's one of the reasons why I'm leaning towards a Bugs Land getting replaced by Marvel Land. It's really because doesn't the red car trolley runs down Buena Vista Street as well? That's I'm trying to think. They can't retheme it to like a Marvel ship or anything because it goes down Buena Vista Street. And they can't have a trolley running through a Marvel Land unless they theme the Marvel Land to a sort of throwback 60s, not 60s, throwback Los Angeles like they do with Buena Vista Street. But like Alex said, we already have Buena Vista Street as like the retro Los Angeles theme. So it just doesn't make any sense to theme the Marvel Land after that. But I mean, who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? I would not want to be part of the board meeting that has to decide what to do with this land and where to add Marvel Land in the park.
Especially if you like award wieners and schmoozies.
I do. I love puns. I guess that's my excuse. Award wieners. It's just yeah. Okay. Moving on to. Yeah, this is it. That's it for Hollywoodland, just because it's so bad. Moving on to Toontown. Alex specifically wanted to bring up Toontown. I'm sure we can all know why. But Alex, what are your thoughts on Toontown?
Toontown, okay. When Toontown opened in 1993, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Even if I was an adult back in 1993 and the way I am and a Disneyland historian and all that, I would have liked it back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have predicted its future, just the way I'm predicting the future of Star Wars Land and other lands that are based off of single IPs. And the problem is that eventually this land will age and become irrelevant to modern culture because it's based off of one whole IP or one idea. And as you know, I've been asked recently, you know, what is an IP? It's an independent property, basically like a single movie or something. And so this land is based off of the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was still popular even in the 1990s, early 1990s. And the biggest problem with it was it opened with a few attractions that would not last very long, such as the Jolly Trolley. Already people were willing to sue over almost falling out of the Jolly Trolley, so that had to stop. That was one of my favorite things in Toontown was the Jolly Trolley. Then they have the disgusting ball pit that children used to swim in.
Yeah.
That they no longer do, thank goodness. But they got rid of that, and now there's this big empty space next to Chippendale's treehouse. And a lot of other things that have closed in Toontown. I'm sure other people could name off tons of it. People always tell me, oh, what about this and what about that? That's gone too. Yes, everything is gone. And really, the only thing that's still popular in Toontown is Mickey's house and Minnie's house. And then not Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin is still popular, but the rest of the land doesn't make sense to people. It just doesn't. It doesn't. They don't know what Who Framed Roger Rabbit is anymore, and they just go along with what the land is. I mean, half the people that are in there, you ask them, "Hey, what do you think this land is based off of?" And all they can tell you is cartoons. You know, because they don't know what it is. So this land, unfortunately, is dated, and it is what will become the future of other single IP lands in the parks, such as Cars Land, Star Wars Land. All that will eventually go the way that Toontown went, which is eventually people will not be able to associate with these movies in the past that were once super popular, but now aren't anymore. So Toontown is like a window into the future. You can just kind of see what's going to happen. But here's the interesting thing about Toontown is it is still jam-packed with people. So that's what's interesting about it, is people don't know what movie it's based off of, but yet it's still jam-packed full of people. And I think it mostly just has to do with Mickey's house, honestly. If you were to ask me, it's about Mickey's house. And that's all Toontown is really good for. So Toontown, in my opinion, is currently the worst land in Disneyland, even more than Tomorrowland. And anyway, and so with Toontown, you can kind of see the way that Star Wars Land is going to go. Star Wars Land is going to open up and be super popular, but then 10 years from now, people are going to be focused on other movies and things, and they're going to forget all about the Star Wars franchise as a popular thing, and then Star Wars Land is going to become like Toontown. It's just going to be a place that people go, but don't know what it's really about or why it still matters. So that's my thoughts on Mickey's Toontown. It should go. It should honestly, it should be bulldozed and something new should be put in its place. That's all it's good for.
Yeah, I agree with you. Toontown is just not... We've said this, I'm sure, more than a billion times. Toontown is not a good land. I feel like I'd like it more if I would be able to walk inside, say, the firehouse right here, or go inside the gag warehouse here, but they're all just I don't know how to pronounce the word. Facade. Wow, I was way off. Facade. They're all just facades to just the outside, but I really wish that I could go inside some of these buildings. Like, I'd want to see what kind of gags they sold in the gag warehouse. There's only a handful of buildings you can actually walk in, and I think one of them is a shop, just a generic Disney shop. But I do sort of have differing opinions about themed lands, and I guess more specifically lands themed to one IP. I do feel that if the land is themed well enough, then the popularity will not diminish regardless of whether the movie property or the book property it's based off of is not relevant anymore. Say if Galaxy's Edge is beautiful, say if it's I'm trying to think of the words. Say if Galaxy's Edge is just an amazing land overall without the Star Wars theming, I think people would still go to it. And if the attractions in it are timeless enough to have people from, say, 20 years in the future still enjoy them. But Star Wars Land is a sort of difficult example of this, just because who knows if Star Wars is going to be popular in 20 years. I feel like this more applies to Cars Land, just because Cars Land is such a small, I guess, like simplistic land. It's not really based on cars. I mean, sure, you have Radiator Springs Racers, you have all these car puns in the land, but I think it can still stand on its own without the Cars theming. It's beautiful looking. The rides are entertaining for the most part. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like that more applies to Cars Land rather than Galaxy's Edge. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Bah humbug.
Okay, let's see. I believe Swagford said that Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin did not open with the land, which is an interesting... I did not know that, if it's true. And he also said, Who Framed Roger Rabbit on Netflix. I know what I'm going to be watching tomorrow. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Lynette says, Toontown has its purpose, to keep them kiddies occupied in one place in the park. That's true, it really is sort of the kids' land. Just sort of have the parents sit down, take a nap, I guess. That wouldn't be very good parenting if you take a nap while your kid's running around Disneyland, but it's true though. I've seen it happen. Parents just take a quick snooze while their kids are running around. They have like a play area, I think. Disgusting looking play area. I will not, like I've said, I will not touch anything in that play area. Or anything in Toontown in general, just because it looks like it's full of germs. And really, all the kids running around, picking their noses, touching everything. You guys know how kids are. I just don't want anything to do with Toontown. But I feel like I said, it would be better if you could walk inside the buildings. But yeah, right now it's just a bare nothing. That's really all it is. Just a bare nothing. Let's see. Yeah, that's really all we have to say about Toontown. Let's move on to... Oh, okay. That was our last one. Oh no, I do have one more. I completely forgot about Critter Country. Okay. Critter Country, previously known as Bear Country. I think my opinions on Critter Country are going to change once Galaxy's Edge opens. My main gripe with Critter Country is that it's a dead end. There's only one way to get in or out, and the rides, well, the one ride, you guys know which ride I'm talking about, I'm not a fan of. Winnie the Pooh ride, I'm not a fan of that. Cheap looking attraction, it just doesn't... I love Winnie the Pooh, don't get me wrong, I've said this before. I love Winnie the Pooh. But the ride just doesn't... It feels like, I guess it doesn't have that Disney magic. But Critter Country, like I said, my main gripe is that it's a dead end. There's only one way in or out. And like I said, I'm sure my opinions will change once Star Wars Land opens, when they add the second entrance and exit to the land. But I don't know. I don't really know if I'd want to go through Galaxy's Edge to get from Toontown to Frontierland. Oh gosh, excuse me. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see when it opens. But Alex, what are your thoughts on Critter Country?
I actually like Critter Country. I believe that improvements could be made to the Winnie the Pooh ride, but I personally like the Winnie the Pooh ride. It could be better, but nevertheless, I like it. It's fun, and it's a great ride to go on when the park is crowded because it only has like a 15-minute wait maximum usually. Splash Mountain is a fun and so far showing to be a timeless attraction. I love the bridge that the Disneyland Railroad goes over. I love the backwoods theme of this land. I like to see all the trees and the creek and Hungry Bear Restaurant is, in my opinion, the best place to get a burger in Disneyland.
That's true.
So I actually really like this land. It's one of my favorites in Disneyland, and what's even better about it is that now it won't be a dead end anymore. As soon as they open Galaxy's Edge, it'll be a place that you can pass through. So that's kind of my thoughts on Critter Country. I like Critter Country, and what's really ironic though is I was never really a fan of the Country Bear Jamboree.
Ooh.
So I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me. It just wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't my kind of show. So I personally am glad it's not there anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's like a stab in the heart. No, it's just kidding. But I feel like I'd like Critter Country more if they embraced the rustic theme. Maybe if it was bigger too. I don't know. Critter Country is just really a big Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. I should probably say Winnie the Pooh instead of just Pooh. But,
yeah.
It's really just a big Winnie the Pooh merchandise place, and then Splash Mountain's off to the side. But I would enjoy it more if the Country Bear Jamboree was still there. Like I said, I love the Country Bear Jamboree. But yeah, let's see. There was one comment I wanted to get to. How will Shaden Kennedy says, how will you theme an entrance from any of the lands to Galaxy's Edge? You don't. I feel like the theming for the entrance and exits, I feel like it's gonna be a really strong, or I guess like harsh change between Galaxy's Edge and say Critter Country. With Frontierland, at least it's easier because you have the rock work sort of matching with Frontierland and Galaxy's Edge. But with Fantasyland, they're just gonna have like a sharp cutoff. Like say you walk into the entrance from Fantasyland, you take a sharp left and then maybe a sharp right and then another. I don't know. You guys know what I mean. But I feel like they're not gonna do a whole lot theming when it comes to that. Just because how do you theme an entrance from a Critter Country with bears and rabbits and turtles to a place with aliens to literally another planet? Yeah, that's just how I feel about it. Let's see. Well, it probably wouldn't exist without Splash Mountain. That's true. I mean, like I said, Splash Mountain is really the only thing I ride willingly in Critter Country. I really wish it was bigger and embraced the rustic feel, but Fusion says they should add more to Critter Country. Yes, Lucky Bird says Country Bear was the best thing that happened to Critter Country. I agree, and the worst thing to happen to Critter Country was them removing the Country Bear. If they were to bring back the Country Bear Jamboree, I don't think there would be enough room to put it. I mean, Winnie the Pooh already replaced the already existing show buildings for it. So if they'd want to bring it back, they'd have to demolish something. They'd have to extend the park's border even, maybe. I don't know how any of that works, but yeah, that's gonna do it for these topics. You guys can well, we're gonna have a little Q&A after this. Let's see. You guys can go ahead and ask us some questions. The Lucky Bird channel says my grandma got good money from that thing. Lucky Bird commented on one of my previous videos saying that his grandmother was one of the voices for the one of the bears in the Country Bear Jamboree. If you can link that to me, send it in the Discord chat. That'd be I'd want to watch, or maybe if you can point out which one your grandma was. So I'd like to see. Let's see. Steve says I heard that from Critter Country. It's in the woods, and then you would see an X-wing between the trees, supposedly the rebel base. That'd be kind of a neat. I guess that'd be kind of neat. Neat transition. Maybe if you're like on Endor, I don't know. That's just off the top of my head. Lucky Bird says I think she's the one on the swing. Okay. I'll take a look, and I'll think of you when I watch the show. Let's see. Swagford says the bears are still all over Critter Country. It's interesting because they did have walk-around characters for the bears. They do still have walk-around characters for the bears in the Magic Kingdom. I don't know. That's not interesting. I just felt like I'd bring that up. Let's see. They should turn all of the bear-themed stuff into Endor and Ewoks. Maybe. I don't think that would sit well with me, just because, I mean, now that I think about it, I can totally see Disney adding Ewoks to Critter Country. I would not be a fan of that, though. Swagford says no. Yeah, but now that I put some thought into it, I can totally see Disney doing that. I mean, I guess they are, like, little critters. But yeah, Swagford just says no. I did see someone talking recently about how they would like to see, I had to think about that for a long time, about how they'd like to see the Country Bear Jamboree in California Adventure in the Grizzly Peak area. That would be a nice spot for them to be. It's already sort of rustic themed, the Grizzly Peak, the Grizzly Airfield area. I'm sure they have enough room. Well, they might not, I have no idea, but I'm sure they'd have enough room if they wanted to make room. But yeah, it's already bear themed in quotes. They have the giant bear on the mountain. So yeah, I think it'd be a good fit. Lucky Bird says, how would y'all make the entrance to Star Wars Land? I'd say like a time machine. That's a tough one. I feel like a good way would be to sort of have it the way they're doing with the Star Wars Hotel. Maybe you step inside an elevator of some sort, and it looks like you're in the spaceship taking off to another planet. But that can't be reasonable for getting however many people in and out between the lands. I mean, I'd be okay with just like a sharp right turn and then another left into Galaxy's Edge, and just sort of somehow add like nice rock work, I don't know, in between the lands. What about you, Alex?
It could be like taking the train to Hogwarts, except like you get on a massive ship and then it goes into hyperspace and then arrives at Star Wars Land real fast. But then again, there's so many people going in and out of the land, I don't think it would really work. So
yeah, when it comes to the way I mentioned with the hotel, there's not going to be that many people walking in and out of the hotel, I guess. I don't know how any of that's going to work, but I am excited to see how they do that. Alex and I said that they've enclosed Galaxy's Edge so much for a reason, because it doesn't really match, I guess. I can't remember what we were saying. It doesn't really
fit in Disneyland.
Yeah, and plus they're going for that immersion that Disney's all about now, the immersion. So if you walk in Galaxy's Edge, you don't see anything else from any other parts of the park, even though you're gonna see Galaxy's Edge from other parts of the park. But that just I mean, yeah, I understand why they're doing it, but I just wish it was not in Disneyland. Steve says People Mover from Tomorrowland to Galaxy's Edge. That'd be nice. I'd be down with a people mover to the entrance of Galaxy's Edge, or maybe to get into Galaxy's Edge. They just need to bring back the people mover in general. So what better place than the place with Soren, says Swagford. Man, it's tough. If we were talking about the original Soarin' Over California, I'd say no, don't replace it with the Country Bear Jamboree, but the newer Soarin' Around the World is not really as good as the original, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'd be no, I don't know. That's tough. I love both attractions. Maybe if they... I'm trying to think of how it would work. No, I wouldn't want to replace Soarin' with the Country Bears. Even though I love it so much, I wouldn't want to do it. Let's see. No, in the area with Soarin'. Oh, okay, so not replacing Soarin'. Yeah, that'd be the perfect place to put it. Sort of off to the left of Soarin', where the giant billboard is. I think there's like a giant billboard and like a plane parked. But yeah, that'd be the perfect place to put it. And Lynette says, walk through a tunnel like a wormhole with Tron-like lights flashing down the walls to enter Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, that would be another good one. Again, I don't know how feasible it is to have lights and like light features, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in three parts, the three entrances to the land. But yeah, Joseph says, you don't smell oranges on the new Soarin', so it's pointless. It's true, they don't pass over the orange grove in the new Soarin'. I hope they never remove Grizzly River Run. Is it just me? Last time I got on that ride, the water smelled really bad, and like I had to change clothes because the water smelled really bad, and it just like resonated in my clothes after I got off the ride. It could have just been me, like the bad luck. Not like saying I stink, but like the water smelled. Oh
well, you know, the water is just like, it's just sits there forever, and granted they do filter it to a extent, but I mean it's the same water being reused over and over again, splashing on people's sweaty bodies on a hot summer day. And I've seen people, like, they have the reservoir for it over by Pacific Wharf. That little lake there is the reservoir for the attraction. And I've seen so many children puke in that reservoir from eating too much food. Oh, yuck. Yeah, it's disgusting. They eat too much food over at Pacific Wharf, and they puke in the big lake because they think that it's like it's just water. But that actually goes straight into the Grizzly River Run, so it's gross.
That makes me want to never ride that ride again. I don't want to be splashed with people's puke water. That's disgusting.
And I could tell you nightmares about the pool water at the hotels.
Oh, so. Do tell.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, I want to hear. I'm interested.
Okay, well, my dad works at one of the hotels. I'm not saying which one because I don't want you guys to go bother him. But my dad works at one of the hotels, and the other night we were talking about the pools and how I don't like to swim in pools or public places because it's usually really gross and stuff like that. And he told us about how they get rid of like if someone poos in the water. And so basically the poo just floats there until someone can go get it, and they fish it out with a net, and then all they do is just throw a cube of concentrated chlorine straight into the water and bomb the water with it, and that's all they do. So even though the chlorine kills off the microbes, you're still swimming in water that poo was floating in. So
I always assume they just drained the pool and put new water in. I don't know.
Nope, that's too expensive.
That sounds okay.
Yeah.
I'm never swimming in pools again.
Yeah, and if someone pees in the pool, you're still swimming around in the pee. It's just been.
That's almost as worse as pee, as poo, because the pee. Why are we talking about this? Because the pee just like spreads throughout the water. At least with the poop, it's just like in one area. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then you swim around and you accidentally get the water up your nose.
Oh, or like you swallow it. Ew.
Yeah. Ew.
Oh my.
Yeah,
gosh.
that's why I don't go swimming in public places. I don't even go to the ocean. I live near the ocean. I don't even swim in the ocean. It's so gross.
That's why I don't know how to swim, guys. I'm afraid to get touched by the poo water. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I think that's going to end this week's episode of Matterhorn Mondays. I hope you all enjoyed, and we'll end it on that wonderful, wonderful note. We want to hear your thoughts on everything we discussed down in the comments, and don't forget to check out Alex on YouTube and to donate to him. He makes amazing Disney history videos and vlogs inside the parks. Do you want to say anything about your channel before we leave, Alex?
It's a great place to get history and stuff like that about Disneyland and learn some really cool fun facts that you really never would have known about the park. So I hope you check it out.
Yeah, guys, links to his channel and instructions on how to donate to him will be down in the description. And you guys can support me on Patreon, and you guys can follow Alex and I on Twitter. Like I said, all the links will be down in the description. And as always, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.